All right, everybody, it's the Combatcast with a man they call Dave and Chevy. We're going to review UFC 293 right off the get-go. But first, Chevy, tell people what's coming up.
All right, September 23rd, UFC Fight Night, Fiziev versus Gamrot. That's a fun main event for sure. September 30th, no UFC fights, so we're working on something for you guys. And then October 7th, really good fight night. Fight Night Dawson versus Green. Bobby Green back in action. So a lot of good talent on that card.
Absolutely. Love Bobby Green. Love Grant Dawson. That's a fun matchmaking right there.
Yeah. All right, let's get into the main talking point for this week for sure. UFC 293, Israel Adesanya versus Sean Strickland. I'll let you go first. Thoughts on the fight?
Okay. So here a second here. So sharing this. So here's the deal. This fight, unbelievable. Like I couldn't believe what I was watching. You know, like when I watch Strickland kind of march him down, I kept waiting for him to get knocked out in that first round. Then he catches Adesanya, and Adesanya survives, and I'm like, ooh, close call. And then they get to the round. Adesanya wins the second round, in my opinion. I think a lot of people's opinion, the only round he won. And I thought, okay, we're going to get back on track. No. Strickland continues to do what looks almost kind of a very basic, like he's just standing there kind of in your face, but Adesanya can't crack it. He can't crack this code that is Sean Strickland. Adesanya, I put this out almost kind of a little bit trolling, but I put out, is Adesanya still the GOAT in your eyes? And I know people are going to say Anderson Silva because I think it's Anderson Silva. Most people say. But some people came out at me like, what did Izzy ever really do? And I thought, what did he do? He cleaned out the fucking division.
Yeah, that's a bad take.
Yeah, that's a real bad take. And I thought some people are just haters. And I think when you hate like that, you take away from the gravity of what Sean Strickland did.
I agree.
This is impressive. I know Ian Gary got shitted on because he thought Israel Adesanya kind of beat himself. I'm not totally shitting on that take either. I'm not totally saying that's the case, but it was definitely something that Adesanya was off, and hats off to the coaching. They all said, yeah, he had an off night, but when we say that, it's because Strickland made him have an off night. It was something he had to do. And so, hey, at the end of the day, one of the biggest upsets in UFC history, I got to put it in the top 3 upsets of all time.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I would say number 3, being after Matt Serra, GSP, and Holly Holm, Ronda Rousey. This has got to be number 3. I gave Sean no chance to win this fight unless he, caught him with some grappling or something that Izzy wasn't expecting. But no, he beat one of the best strikers ever in the UFC with just a 1-2 and some really good defense. His ability to just not get hit, like his distance management, it was very impressive. He stayed right in Izzy's grill, but just out of range for, a lot of those shots. He stayed inside the kicking range, checked a lot of the leg kicks that came towards him. I think if I might be remembering this incorrectly, but I believe Izzy only hit Strickland in the head 22 times in 25 minutes, which is ridiculous for one of the best strikers in the UFC. So, I agree with your take. I don't think that Izzy looked his best. He did look a little bit slow, but, a lot of that credit needs to go to Sean Strickland. He fought the perfect fight, basically. So, it was just so impressive. I was stunned afterwards. Like, it almost kept me awake because, normally these UFCs are so late, you go to bed right afterwards, but I just could not believe what happened. So
we talked on the same page. We both ended up renting this pay-per-view, and I think we wanted it at our respective houses. We didn't watch it together because we both like, I'm going to get tired. I might fall asleep.
Yeah.
And I didn't actually text much that night. I ended up having a mutual friend over, and we're watching the fights. And I'm like, oh, man, okay, so they're up. And I know another friend of ours was getting tired watching it. And he's not a big fan of either one of them, to be fair. But I was just so enthralled at what I was seeing. I just couldn't believe it the whole time. And I'll get your take on the rematch. The Dana says it makes the most sense to him. I can definitely see the argument. People said when you lose 2 out of your last 3 in their title matches, you don't. I can also see the argument this guy's cleaned out the division. And from a business standpoint, I think this probably does make the most sense money-wise. And for Strickland, it's probably the fight you want money-wise. And I am intrigued by a rematch because Israel has made adjustments like he did with Pereira. Can he make adjustments with Strickland? I don't know what to expect if they do that fight again because Adesanya should have won that fight, in my opinion, 9 times out of 10 going in as a guy who watches this stuff all the time. And, just that's the way it should have looked. But the performance Strickland put on was so dominant, I don't see how he does. I don't know what Adesanya is going to do differently. So I am intrigued.
Yeah, Eugene, Izzy's coach, really did the press conference afterwards. Izzy didn't really talk much. But Eugene was saying that it is very tough to come up with a game plan in these, revenge camps or whatever, the rematch camps, because you want to overturn every stone in your first fight against somebody. It's hard to come up with, fixes to things when you think you've already cracked the code. So Izzy was unable to make any adjustments during the fight. Eugene did say there was a disconnect between, the corner and Izzy in between rounds, which, occasionally happens during fights. But that was a big problem. Izzy's inability to make adjustments in basically a kickboxing match. And, we know how great he is at kickboxing. So, tough matchup. I am interested in it, but personally, I'm a huge Izzy fan, right? But I'm leaning towards that camp where maybe he should take a little bit of time off. He's been one of the most active champions ever. He's lost 2 out of his last 3. Maybe let's get some fresh blood going in the division. He can build himself back up. Maybe take one fight. Take some time off, take one fight, then fight for the championship if you win that one. So if they do the rematch, it's also fine with me. I want to see it for sure. But I hope Izzy takes a little bit of time off. He comes back. He has a little run at the title, and he becomes dominant again.
Eric Nixick, I believe is the name of Strickland's coach.
Yeah.
Yeah, congrats to him, too. I didn't realize he was Francis Ngannou's coach. He took over for Francis, got Francis to the UFC Heavyweight Championship. And now he just pulled off this upset. That guy has to be, you have to start looking at what he's doing in that camp and say, this guy's definitely, that'd be a camp I'd want to get involved in, I think.
Yeah, top level for sure. Very, very impressive. Great game plan.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, we'll move on. But just as far as other contenders too, Jared Cannonier, he had a win over Strickland not too long ago in a close fight.
Split decision, I believe. Yeah.
Dricus Duplessis, obviously he was the guy on his way. He had just upset Whitaker. Whitaker would probably, because of that loss, not be considered, but there's a guy that if something happened to Izzy, he could be one fight away or something too. So just middleweight division.
Hamza and Paulo Costa are fighting next month as well. So
Paulo Costa suddenly has got fresh, he's a Hamza for sure. And also one of your favorites that Marvin Vettori, who has been kind of shut down by Adesanya, there's all these guys are now suddenly, I feel like, have a new lease. This middleweight division feels a lot more fresh. At the same time, Adesanya could win a rematch, so we'll see what happens.
All right, he's beat all of them except for Strickland and Hamza, so yeah. We'll see what happens. But let's move on. There were a lot of good fights on this card. So let's talk about the co-main event, Tai Tuivasa versus Alexander Volkov.
This looked like it should have looked like. And for some reason, Volkov, when he's fighting these big, heavy hitters, he just gets caught. And he's usually dominant, but then gets caught. And I always reference that Derek Lewis fight. Not today. Now, he did what he – and we said MMA math might not add up here. But it didn't. Volkov put it on him, choked him out. I can't remember the choke he used.
Ezekiel choke.
What was Ezekiel choke? Yeah.
He did that Alexei Olenek Ezekiel choke. That's usually reserved for people in a gi, because you use the collar to choke him. But, he put his fist right in there and wrapped around. It's like a rear naked choke from the front.
Mm-hmm.
Very tough to do in MMA.
Fantastic. Anyway, fantastic performance, fantastic win. Volkov's fought everybody. That's kind of one of his problems. He's lost to some of the tippy top guys. He's beaten some of the other guys. And so there's not like a ton of fresh matchups for him. But I wanted to throw some fights out here coming out of this like I usually do. And I'm just going to say I'd like to see a rematch with him and Derek Lewis. If I'm Volkov, like Derek's hot now. Maybe you just came off looking really good. Maybe try to get that win back.
Yeah, that's a good matchup. If I was Derek, I would not take that fight. But
I would. I think I was him. No.
Yeah, it's good matchmaking. Yeah, Volkov does not really get his flowers. He's been in the top 10, top 7 really in the UFC and Bellator for like 10 years. So very impressive. So shout out to Volkov. He looked great. Ty did land a lot of those very heavy leg kicks on him. But he just couldn't get inside to find Volkov's chin. So respect to Volkov for staying disciplined and getting that slick Ezekiel choke. I like to see that. Absolutely. All right, let's move on to, I don't know if this got fight of the night, but it definitely should have if it didn't. So Manel Kape versus Felipe dos Santos.
You got me wondering too now. Did this get fight of the night? I'm right here. It did get fight of the night. Good for them. And you remember last week, too, I almost picked Dos Santos. And I was like, I just got this feel. He's undefeated. And I listened to you, and I'm glad I did. But at the same time, I was looking at that fight, and I was like, man, this kid is impressive. Like,
I didn't know he came out of Oliveira's camp. Yeah,
I didn't either. So, but you could tell by the weigh-in, he was not intimidated by the moment at all. That being said, Kape, he looked good, too. Last second replacement, fighting a guy that came to fight. So I can't take anything away from him. Impressive all around, except for on the mic, him and a couple other people with a few homophobic slurs. Get it together, guys. Especially now, your company just got even bigger. You're merging with WWE, and it's even bigger. You're on the stock exchange. You're going to have to, that shit's not going to fly. So I'll throw out one more fight before I pitch it to you. For Kape, I say it's the Kai Kara France fight. Now you have a little storyline brewing. I think they should try to book that at some point.
Absolutely. There's so few storylines in flyweight at this point. Like, that's a must-make fight for sure. But yeah, going back to this fight, it was an amazing fight. Good showing, very back and forth from both guys. I do like that Felipe showed that, he's able to jump right into the top 15, top 10 and make a name for himself. So close fight. Good job from both guys. I'm with you. I don't know what the hell was going on in Australia, but everyone dropping these homophobic slurs on the mic. If you did that and you were in the NBA or the NFL or these other big leagues, which the UFC wants to be a big sports organization like them, and it's very close, that's suspensions, that's, fines. It's a big deal. So, Disney, Mickey Mouse, and ESPN and all that, I don't know if they're going to be too happy about that. So I bet you will not see or hear that again for the most part, especially from these undercard guys. Sean Strickland got on there and said, he might get a pass or something, but these guys are not going to get a pass. So, all right, let's move on to great performance. Justin Tafa versus Austin Lane. Quick fight in this rematch from that bad eye poke in the first one, which we almost got again.
Tafa is he's just that guy. He's going to march you down. He's going to bully you, and he's going to swing for the fences, and he's got a hell of a chin. I know Mark Hunt. He's worked with Mark Hunt, and Mark Hunt might be his idol, and he definitely has a Mark Hunt vibe to him. Holy crap. But, what can you say? Really great performance, great knockout. I don't know how he's going to do with the upper echelon of heavyweights, but he's a fun fighter. I'd like to see him take on Tai Tuivasa or Derek Lewis. I'd like to see him with somebody like that, because even though he's still only had a few fights, I feel like put him in there with some of those big, heavy hitters, and you're going to have the fun fights you can have with a guy like Tafa.
Yeah, it was a great fight. The ground and pound, like after he knocked him down, was staggering. It was so heavy. Yeah, shout out to Tafa. Tough one for Austin Lane, although he eye poked Tafa again early in the first. Luckily, not too much damage, but it's just tough. You know, he spent, I think it was 8 years or something like that in the NFL. So he's a tremendous athlete, but there's just not enough time to make up for all the experience that Tafa has in fighting. That wasn't Austin Lane's main focus throughout most of his life. So it's hard at this level to make up that time. But it was a good fight. So shout out to Justin Tafa. Congrats.
Mm-hmm.
Let's move on to another great fight. Another great performance. Tyson Pedro versus Anton Turkalj.
Anton did a lot of weird stuff coming into this with his entrance and stuff, just making faces, doing silly dances, acting like he was scared, but it was just
and he's 0-2 in the UFC too. A lot of dumb shit he was doing while he's 0-2.
Yeah, and so he came in maybe a little overconfident. I don't know, but it didn't work for him. Tyson Pedro looked great. This was one of his better performances, I thought, all around. And him and Tafa both kicked off this card really good, and I thought really set the pace well for the night. As far as a fight to go with him, I'm going to take a guy who's on the upper echelons a little bit from where Tyson is, but is on a losing streak, Ryan Spann. I think Ryan Spann, we're going to know, folds a little bit as time goes on. That might be an interesting fight. But anyway, that's what I think.
That's a big jump for him. I was thinking Dustin Jacoby, who I think is number 15, or Dominic Reyes.
Reyes was the other guy in my mind, but that's it.
So to get him in that top 15, he's because of the performances he's put on. If you take out that Bukakis fight, which he was ill for, he was sick, which you could tell he was sick because he was so winded in that first round. Which is not normally his MO. So, you take that one out and he had a 3-fight win streak. So,
yeah,
shout out to Tyson Pedro. I am looking forward to him progressing. He's a fun watch. Also, best celebration I've seen after a knockout of all time. I'm a big fan of Japanese culture, so I loved that fucking samurai katana slash and sword sheath. So, shout out to him for that. We don't need to go over the fight, but I did mention on the prelims, on the pre-show last week, the Jack Jenkins and Chape Marscal fight. Jack was winning until he got taken down and he went to post and he had that terrible elbow dislocation. So it wasn't broken, just dislocated. I guess he's got to have an MRI to find out if he has any ligament damage or anything, but get well soon. Hopefully he has a quick recovery, no permanent damage or anything like that. He's a fun fighter to watch. We didn't talk about this before, but he's broken 2 opponents' femurs with leg kicks and then also finished multiple other opponents with leg kicks. So he's very exciting to watch.
Yeah, I mean, hey, overall, I thought this pay-per-view ended up definitely being a fun watch. It got a lot of criticism coming in, but in terms of fight quality, I thought it was one of the, I don't want to say because there's been good pay-per-views this year, but definitely one of the better cards.
And the pacing, you mentioned it with all those knockouts. We didn't get a lot of promos and stuff in between. They just kind of kept the show moving along. It ended pretty early, so
12:30 with UFC is crazy.
I appreciate that. Yeah, for sure. So thank you, Australia. You put on a good show, and the fans were great too. Even for Strickland, Izzy's kind of their guy. They were cheering for Strickland too. So shout out to the Aussie fans.
I'm looking. Just want to jump ahead here. Okay, yeah. So speaking of pacing, this, which we're going to talk about now, obviously is a fight night card. It's going to start at 10. They're almost treating it like a pay-per-view, but it doesn't have the 6-fight fight night card. It's a 5-fight main card. So it is kind of almost getting the pay-per-view treatment this weekend.
Yeah, I think, we've gotten a lot of these early cards and stuff, so they're going to give one over for the West Coast people. So, it's going to happen. It's late, but there's a couple good fights on here. So, we don't need to go over it, but Rosas Jr. is back. He's on the undercard versus Terrance Mitchell. So shout out to Rosas Jr. He's an exciting prospect to watch. But let's start talking about the co-main event. Definitely the fight I'm the most excited for. Kevin Holland versus Jack Della Madalena.
Jack Della Madalena. That's an interesting fighter right here. He's 15-2, 11 KOs, 2 subs, 2 decisions. He's on a 15-fight win streak, folks. Lost his first 2 fights and has not looked back. He's 5-0 in the UFC with 4 finishes. He's had performance of the night 3 times, and that one that wasn't a finish, which was a short notice fight, and I think this says a lot about his opponent, ended up being fight of the night. So this guy has looked good. He's had some sick body shot finishes. He's had some submissions. This is like the top definition of a word prospect at this point. Kevin Holland is a step up in competition, though, because this guy's fought everybody. I mean, we're talking Jacare Souza. We're talking, Wonder Boy, Stephen Thompson. Like, Kevin Holland has fought the best of the best. He's 25-9-1, 14 KOs, 7 subs, 4 decisions. He's had fight of the night, performance of the night like 6 times. He always comes to fight. I shouldn't say that. Actually, when he's on, he's on. But that's probably one of Kevin's biggest problems is that he hasn't mentally always seemed like he's on his game. And what's interesting is, though, but at welterweight, he's looked the most sharp. And this fight is at welterweight. This is a real pickup. I'm honestly really struggling to pick this one. I am going – it's a 3-round fight. I'm going to lean towards Kevin Holland, and I might regret that. But I just feel like how good he looked against Michael Chiesa and how sharp he's looked at welterweight. I love the movement. I'm going to say decision, but I wouldn't be surprised if he can pull off a slick submission finish or something happens, but that'd be like round 3. At the same time, those body shots that Jack can put on you, I would not be surprised if Jack gets a finish either. This is a real close fight. Yeah,
like you were saying, big step up for JDM, but it's very tough to call. Honestly, I'm with you. I'm having a really hard time picking who's going to win, but I'm very excited for this fight because I think it's going to be a war. If it doesn't go all 3 rounds, I think it gets pretty close to the end. And I think mostly it'll be on the feet. I don't think either guy is going to want to do too much grappling unless, somebody gets knocked down or something. It's going to be JDM's power and his excellent boxing versus Holland's reach, because he's very long for welterweight. His reach and his creativity, he'll come with all sorts of weird shit. So I think I'm leaning towards JDM. I think I'm going to pick JDM by decision, but I don't care who wins. I'm very excited for this fight.
Should be a good one. Yeah, this definitely is great matchmaking for the co-main event.
Absolutely. All right, let's talk about this main event for the women's flyweight belt. Alexa Grasso versus Valentina Shevchenko 2.
Yeah, 2 rematch. Shevchenko has been the women's flyweight GOAT, no doubt. She's beaten everybody. At bantamweight, she had 2 very close losses to Amanda Nunes. She submitted Juliana Pena, and she's beaten the strawweight queen at 1.2, Jacek at flyweight. She's just really beaten a who's who, and she's 23-4, 8 KOs, 7 subs, 8 decisions, so well-rounded as it gets. Muay Thai, kickboxing background. It's just like you could just 7 successful title defenses. First woman to defend a UFC women's flyweight champion. Performance of the night 3 times. Longest average fight time in UFC women's flyweight division history. She's just got most takedown. It's incredible, there's so much records. But that being said, Alexa Grasso, the current champ, 16-3, 4 KOs, 2 subs, 10 decisions on a 5-fight win streak, including the former champ. She's the first Mexican woman to win a UFC championship. This is on Mexican Independence Day. They're out in Vegas. I feel like we're gonna have a strong Hispanic crowd there, and if she's gonna do it, like this is the time to do it because like she is kind of the face almost like I feel like with Mexican Independence Day, like this is what they want. They want her to win and they want her to be a new star. Mm-hmm. And I'm kind of torn. Personally, like I was such a fan of Shevchenko and what she did. And honestly, too, I think it'd be very dismissive because I know she had a fight she won prior to this loss by decision that was really close, and we started wondering if she was wearing down. But I think it's very, very dismissive still to say that, Shevchenko's probably just her on her way out. Like, she's definitely good enough, I think, to make adjustments and come up with a game plan. And that fight wasn't like I don't remember being super one-sided before she got choked out. So that being said, I think I'm going to go with the current champion, Alexa Grasso, though. But I think this could be a fun, competitive fight. I think Grasso is going to have that, that Mexican heart of a warrior. She's going to keep going forward in the later rounds. And I think she's going to eventually get a finish here, maybe a late TKO this time.
Yeah, I believe in Valentina's ability to make adjustments for sure to the last fight. But she hasn't been looking herself right. As of late. She is 35 now, paired with the fact that Alexa is in her prime. And you mentioned that 5-fight win streak. There are 5 very tough girls, too. So I'm going to go with Alexa. But I think that it goes to a decision. I think Alexa's going to dominate on the feet for the most part and gets a pretty clear decision. I just think it's her time. No slight to Valentina. I just think it's Alexa's time at this point.
Yeah, I think I kind of agree with you. Like I said, I could even see Grasso getting a late finish here. Mm-hmm. Now, I do think Shevchenko after this could still have a successful run at bantamweight. Part of the problem could be weight cutting and stuff, at this point of the game, and it'll be interesting to see what she could look like at bantamweight. But I'm not going to write her off yet. We'll see how this fight goes. I definitely give her respect, and on a personal level, I'm excited for both these women because, Shevchenko to do what she does and to come back and win this title would be amazing. And for Grasso to be the first Mexican women's champion here, and then go on to win this on Mexican Independence Day, that'd be pretty cool too.
Yeah. It might be a little bit of added pressure on Alexa too.
Absolutely.
She might be feeling the pressure. So yeah, I'm excited. It's a good fight card. So looking forward to it.
All right. Let's tell people we got coming up one more time.
All right. September 23rd, UFC Fight Night, Fiziev versus Gamrot. Then September 30th, no fight. So we're going to come up with something for you guys, maybe an interview or maybe we'll play MMA Jeopardy again. And then October 7th, Fight Night, UFC Fight Night, Dawson versus Green. That's shaping up to be a very good fight card. Looking forward to that one.
All right, guys. Should be a fun fight card this weekend. Check it out, and we'll see you here.